to agree on an action, you know, you presented 3 videos. 3 questions. So we have video documentation of 2020, 2021, and 20, that we have. Yes, so we have some video documentation, right? So when you are saying that we are here to review the progress we are making in this country, in as far as expectations on the day of the African child is concerned, then we shouldn't jump to 2022 and forget 2002. Now, for those who may not remember, in 2002, who was the head of state? Huh? Yes, sir. Yes. So, if we agree on that action point, do we task Total News? Can we task Total News to do for us this analysis? It's just engaging the right department of government and giving us copies. We are better off saying, we have a copy, let's look at it. Because, let me give you an example. If right now we have a problem with birth registration, for example, but in 2003, the bill was birth registration. Then if 2003, government made commitments around birth registration, then why would we have a problem with birth registration today? 20 years down the line. Okay. For example, in 2008, governments made commitments on child participation. Fast forward, 14 years later, we are still struggling on child participation. So we need to ask ourselves anytime we are talking to government around child participation, what commitment did we make in 2008? Remember what? So I thought that I would start with this, so that some how do I put it? Some status. Otherwise, next year, when we are saying we are planning for the day of the African children, it would be a shame that we are putting a lot of energy on just planning and planning and planning, and then events, and we don't take stock. Now, apart from this one, I also wanted us to ask ourselves, before you go back to what Jennifer was talking about, this is 2020. Now, this is the 2020 concept. So I wanted to look at the presentation of Jennifer, the video, right? The video for 2020.
Yes.
Now, so in 2020, as we reflect on the video, this is what the expected results. So let's look at, you saw the video for 2020. For what? But what was the expected result for 2020? Look at this carefully. Look at improving the justice system to deal with the violations of the rights of the child. Now, we must ask ourselves, how was the justice system in 2020? And how has the justice system improved now? So Don't go to product perspective before you look at the basic thing. Look at look at C, develop strategies that indicate the steps to be taken to ensure that the best interests of the child in contact with the law are considered. Now, very simple. So in 2020, we needed to develop strategies, or review. So which ones did we develop or review? But that's what we're supposed to be doing this thing. That's what a review means. Look at regularly and attend consultative voluntary national review and national monitor access to justice for children. Do you have an idea whether we have done some voluntary review? So this is what I expected of us. So as we reflect on the video, we shouldn't forget this. Look at the last one. Children at all levels and from various backgrounds play a major role in the planning and implementation of. So in 2020, how did children play a role in planning? In 2021, how did they play a role in planning? Now, who has evidence that children were at the table at planning? Forget about the event. When you guys are saying the venue will be Kasarani Stadium, the venue will be Mombasa Stadium, the venue will be any stadium, Nakuru Stadium, wherever. So, were children involved in determining that? That is what it means. We are planning to have the day of the African launched in this year. It was where? The goal. So, and that decision making, we are planning well the function in India. So honestly, you may not agree with me, but honestly, if in 2020 we are being reminded that children at all levels, village level, some location level, ward level, school at all levels. Here we are. In the best interest of the children, gather to collect and live. This is 2020. Now, what about now somebody else? So I'm just looking at now. Remember, we have looked at the video for 2020. So we have looked at the video for 2020 and showed you what was expected. The next exercise we're going to do, we are going to ask you to look at. We can decide whether you have to do tables, but we have to ask ourselves. We have video, then we have the expectation. Tuko sawa ama tuko sawa? The next one is 2021. In 2021, what were the expectations again? Here we go. This is 2021. Implementation of Agenda 2040. Now, there are several things that are expected from different stakeholders. Expected results from different stakeholders. Look at African governments to publicly reaffirm commitments to. Now, if you look at Kenya, is one of the Republic of Kenya is one of the Africa governments. So in 2021, we are to reaffirm commitments on the following. So do we have an idea that this was reaffirmed? If yes, where's the evidence? I hope we are together. Okay. We also reminded again another voluntary review. Look at the last one. Again, as an entire process, I think this is what you can get from genetics. Monitor the steps. Let's go to 2022. The most recent one. This might be closer to. We are just 1 month into this. So in 2022, look at some of the things that you're being reminded of. And look at please allow me now to ask each table to give an answer. Because on this one now you participated. I remember Dan telling us that most of us here participated. The first thing we are being told, member states to conduct a national assessment on harmful practices affecting children. This year. Let's discuss this one. Yes, member states will do that. See here we conducted the Day of African Children. Simple. But what were you told to do? This was a concept, and I remember people were excited with the concept, all over with the concept. Let's read. The concept note aims to inform specific activities that member states should undertake. In line with the deal, these recommendations have the objective to inform the content and structure of member states' reports. The Africa Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of Children on how their commemoration of DAC 2022 has played a crucial role in addressing harmful. We sat in planning meetings. A number of you guys were even in WhatsApp groups for planning. You spent resources. But what's number one? Number one is very clear. Undertake an assessment. Now look at this. The study should provide details regarding the acts considered harmful in the respective countries. Very clear. In each table, in your opinion, just take 5 minutes and ask ourselves, did we do this? For me, as far as I'm concerned, we did. Anyone who did it somewhere, Ask yourself this question. The AU, Africa Committee of Experts on the Rights of Children, are sent upon people. Planning meetings, dark planning meetings. Everyday planning meetings, events. But the basic thing is here. So what's the challenge? If you're the civil side, this is not something you're going to ask that the government was supposed to do. Now, if government was supposed to do it, what stopped us from doing it? What stopped us? You know, we are going to speak and then I'm going to run away. I already told Jennifer I'll run away. But she's the one who asked me to speak. So if you don't like what I'm saying, blame Jennifer. She told me she's going to present the documentation they have. And she asked me now, after the presentation, please come and reflect. So I'm just doing what I was told to do. Was this difficult to me? Is this something difficult to me? You can imagine that all experts in the room, child rights experts, we didn't do this. But we spent resources. I can tell you, this country, all the Day of the African Child celebrations all over the country, at sub-county level, county level, national level. Do you have an idea of how much money was spent? Do you have an idea? We spent over 20 million Kenya shillings, but we didn't do a basic thing. So how much do we need to do a study? Take all the sub-counties and what people are spending on. Then we say, in the best interest of children. So in the best interest of children, we are told to do a study, and we forget to do it. That's the country we live in. Don't even blame our politicians before you blame our country. Let's look at the next one. Now, for this is something that has been ongoing. So we need to wait for the AU. This has been going on, ending FGM, ending child marriage, all this. So on this one, we are doing very well. There's a lot of evidence for ongoing campaign ending all forms of harmful. So this number 2, here, I'm sure every organization has something. We are doing very well on number 2. But what? So this one, you don't even have to wait for us to be reminded because you have a lot of evidence that is going on very well. See this out? Number 2 is okay. Number 3, review national legislation or practice. Now, is there any organization or any group of people that do people now just a moment to say, okay, column 1, these are the harmful practices. Column 2, these are the policy frameworks. These are the legal frameworks. Then you review. Let me give an example. Ending FGM. Simple. If you look at that law, did we take a moment to say today, we just want to appreciate that you have a legal framework on ending FGM and say this is a very good law. And we appreciate what is working well. Did we do that? Civil servant. Did you do that? But here we are with a good legal framework on ending FGM. So we need to ask ourselves some of these questions. Then if I'm getting over to the again, member states should identify and educate children who are in particular vulnerable situations, and implement strategies to prevent, protect, and protect them. So this is the part where we need to ask ourselves some of these questions. Then if I'm getting over to the again, member states should identify and educate children who are in particular vulnerable situations, and implement strategies to prevent, protect, and protect them. be affected by harmful practices such as young child, children with disability, children with albinism, children with the move, children in this situation, living growth. Now, we engage children. How do we engage? We engage children. How do we engage? Some of the organizations I know had consultations with them, they share their views, and there are some reports. So then we need to ask ourselves, how do we engage children? Now, look at number 5, particularly in Kenya, where FGM is practiced. This is something that has been going on, so we didn't not just wait for the day that we can. So that for me is a scope, is not a big issue. Child marriage, there's other things we do around that. Look at corporal punishment. So basically, these are the things we're supposed to do. So here now what we need to do, if we are the child, we check all this. Again, column 1, all this. Then column 2, we appreciate what we did. Then say what was our inadequacy. What we did very well, we ask ourselves, what made us do it well? What we did not do, we ask ourselves, what is the challenge? This is important because it will inform how we continue engaging in advocating for the rights of the child. See, now, with our template, there are actually tasks if you can do. Before we put schools together, you tell them you're doing a report for the day. Yes. So before she does that report, if you want the organization, you've included the civil society report, then we need a specific report from you. It's very clear. Country, Kenya. Partner, World Vision, for example. Summary or analysis of the theme as it applies to. So there's some reports that we needed. So before we arrive at the country reports, there's already preliminary data that they collected from you. The one they were asking, were you involved in 2022? That will be showing you how it came out. Now the idea here is, for your organization to be included in the report they are having, you must be able to show how you are part of this celebration. It doesn't have to be financial contribution, no. You need to show that you're going to do something. Number 1. So that then you'll be able to know how to budget the organization. They are better off saying we are 140 and the list is here. So as the government of Kenya does their reports, we have a responsibility to tell the government of Kenya from the civil society perspective, this is what we consider what we did and include it in your government report. At the same time, we also send it as the civil society. So what's up? Now this helps in informing the next steps to be taken in this kind of arrangement. So let me hear any immediate comment or reflection on the videos. I think we saw 2020, 2021, and 2022, and then the concepts and the expectation. Was the output from this meeting is a civil society report on how we are doing as far as the day of the credit is concerned. Go ahead.
My only is a simple question. If you're going to do so that there's a lot of member states, member bullshit, I was just wondering, when we're talking about member states, who exactly is addressing the citizens, the national government, the individual organizations, or this point, is there any particular person or entity we are addressing in the government?
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? slide.
Thank you. I think from my observation and from the deals that you shared with us from 2002, I think the challenge is, I think, to say, we are normally much focused on organizing for the event. And after the event, we wait for the following year without looking at specifically the comments and all the steps that need to be followed. I'm thinking, even with the following up on issues that needs to be there with the government, the CSO, I believe the Day of African Child University should be a process. And for it to be a process, I think we need to have at least a steering committee, maybe annual steering committee that check on the planning from planning the comments themselves. Then we, after the event, again we have a review and see whether we need to have that committee carrying forward, or we have another committee that to do that. I think it will help us to address some of the issues, because if you check on the themes, like what you were talking about, maybe 207, combating child trafficking, is an issue that is affecting us now in 2022. I think if there was a committee that follow up on the issue and we address the issues, it will be a better way of addressing them. And again, I'm very sure some of these reports that we're talking about, you might not find them in the government. But if we have a steering committee trying to follow up, maybe from now, I think we will learn some of the issues. That's my thought.
Yeah. Don't forget, you have a question that I need to respond to. Go ahead, start with the country.
For me, my observation is I think one of the biggest problems we have, the questions here that we raised, is that I blame the civil society, because I've been several planning for these events. We realize even though the full responsibility is lies on the government, but we realize that civil society is always in the forefront. Give government funding without keeping government accountable for funding. So the moment civil society will start asking government questions, that is when we will start seeing something happening when it comes to these events. Because as far as I can see now, there are always just events to mark the day, and that is the end of it. Nothing happens after that. Nothing like accountability, nothing like keeping government accountable and making sure that children are doing that. Okay?
Thank you. Something that's really struck me is that when we were talking about 2020, I saw the government talk about the children assembly. Yes. School, they have done it, very beautiful, done in the schools. But are these children assemblies really doing what? That's the biggest challenge. They meet, like this year, they met in KICD for about 3 days. They had a wonderful time there, but who knows what came out of that? Because when we look at 2003, we talk about child participation. We look at 2018, no child left behind. We are still struggling with SNE. Talk about those child who are not included in the system. We are talking about park registration. To date, we are struggling with that. So it's high time that we do not look at that as active writings, but we actually translate them into actions. And once it's done, it is actually requested, because I find the Department of Children's Services sometimes, I'm sorry to say, it's a bit rigid to give some of the responses. So it's upon the civil service to come up with an action plan that is active, not fighting them, but working together in information, so that that child there understands that there is a day of the African child. What does it have for me? Not to wait until that day, tunakuja tunawaita, they sit down, they give points and all that. Then after that, what's up there? They go home, they eaten, they're gone home. So we need to make a very serious proposition that we involve them. They want to be champions. We need to have what's called child champions in those schools. And should make sure that we follow up on that so that we can have the best result of that.
Thank you. So back to what you asked about member states. Any government in this context is speaking to Kenya government, the member state here, that we are holding accountable. The Kenya government has certain institutions. When you say member states, so in Kenya now, this is a question that you want to struggle with one as single side. But at the end of the day, it is our Republic of Kenya, which is the member state. Now, that's something I want to ask you guys, and I like what you asked. Who has ever asked whether the head of state, President of the Republic of Kenya, in 2002, up to now, do you have evidence that the President of the Republic of Kenya was asked to preside over the Day of the African Child? He asked about member states. And who's the head of the state? Who's the head of the state? The member state. The state has a head. The head is the head of state. So who's supposed to lead this? So we ever asked ourselves, we have national days that are recognized, right? But we ever asked ourselves whether there's an event that the head of state was invited, and the head of state saying, I'm not available. Don't say the head of state will never come. But do you have evidence that he has never been informed that he needs to come? This year, is there anything that stopped you guys from reaching out to the head of state to come? Last year, is there anything that stopped us? Anyway, ask your question.
Okay, I think mine was when you look at all of them are centered in protecting the rights. For me, my question would be, what is the civil society doing in terms of child rights and community? I want to go back to the starting point of, for example, children transfer at schools. As a civil society, we create a platform for them to be able to hold the government accountable in terms of actualization of their rights. Are we providing a framework? We as the civil society and the government will have on their commitments, especially on achieving the children's rights. Yes, what is the existing structure? How do we make it happen in terms of child rights?
Thank you very much. The other question before I conclude, the last two.
My name is Paul. Most of us say that you're doing very well when it comes to formulation and legislation, but practically I think you're not doing very well. And one of the reasons why that's my thinking, and something I'd like to suggest, when you look at the ideal and the real, there's a very wide gap, which is really a puzzle to me. And I think one of the reasons why I'm having that puzzle is because most of the times when we go back to where we work, respective work stations, we tend to work more in isolation. I was having a conversation with a friend during the tea break, and we are realizing that there are so many organizations that are addressing issues of child protection. But most of the time, we only meet in this kind of forums. So when we go back, we keep doing our thing. So I was suggesting if we could begin our self-targets, that if there is a team, then we hold each other accountable. What are you doing towards achieving that target that you're giving yourself? Even if you are providing, let's say, you're providing shelter for children, another person doing nutrition, but you need to be working towards the target as a team, then I think we can make more progress.
Thank you, sir. The last one.
I was going through the things from 2002, they are very beautiful and under the protection of children. So, because we keep on talking about the report, it is a high time we start doing it practically. Maybe after every event, they give an evaluation of how the process was and to go to be put into practice. Then delaying it. Like last time we went to do the elimination how to practices affecting children. And I think maybe the end of the day we were celebrating, we forgot all about it.
Very good comments. Now, this is my suggestion moving forward. If we agree that autonomous can lead us in putting together the civil society report, then from one region to be able to see how to assist in doing that. Then once autonomous has put together the civil society report, now we engage with government. Are we together? So we put together the civil society perspective. Then, once we are ready, then we now engage with government based on our perspective. So the government does what they need to do, they take into consideration our perspective. So there's some work to be done around this, a lot of work. So this is a process. This is the last time we engage. Now, when then we give the government the civil society report for their consideration, at the same time, we also send the civil society perspective to the Africa Committee. Someone will ask, where is the children perspective? Then, get the civil society meeting. Number one, we are considering how we also be having children conversations. We'll have the civil society report, we'll have the children report, then this will be used to engage government. So as I conclude now, I want to remind us, the children that we're talking about, there's just one more slide. I don't know whether it's here. Yes. In 5 minutes, I think it's done. I've seen this. Who has ever interacted with this information? Deprivation among children in this country. The National Bureau of Statistics has a report known as Comprehensive Poverty Analysis Report. That report shows children below the age of 5. This is the proportion of children who are deprived. Deprived means they are not accessing basic services for their survival and development. This report has its data by counties and a number of parameters. So as you sit here, talking about review of the Day of the African Child, there's a crisis in this country. Now, look at the other end. Look at water. What proportion is that? 45%. What's the population of children in this country? Let me explain to you now. When you're deprived of water, chances are you'll be moving a long distance to look for water. Then you are exposed to more risks. So as you move looking for water, chances are, as a child, there'll be more exposure to risks, especially sexual exploitation. Kwa sababu mtoto msichana akitembea long distance kutafuta maji, atapata mtu kwa kumdanganya kwa mfano, sio? So sometimes when you run to say you want children to be protected from various forms of violation, remember the root causes of some of those things are here. This is just good. Very lastly, who is aware about this? We are all aware. Now, if this year we are talking about harmful cultural practices, some of the harmful cultural practices is what has contributed to child pregnancies. This should concern us. And as we talk about elections, for example, have you heard any political leader talking about ending child pregnancy? And then you are going to vote for them. You know clearly they're not talking about it. And if you know they're not talking about it, who among you has approached them and said, please talk about ending child pregnancy? And the facts are here. This is government data. In the most recent economic survey, it is published the way it is. So we can come and talk civil society, the Day of the African Child. Behind all these workshops we are talking, there are children who are suffering. Let me give you an example. In 2017, we had 23,000 children below the age of 14 who are pregnant, assuming one was 10 years old. So a child who was 10 years old in 2017 is how many years old now? Just add 4 years, 5 years is 15. So I give birth at 10 years. I am a child. Uko pamoja? In 5 years, I'm still a child with a child. I'm 15, my child is 5. I am going to school, but I'm also going ensuring my baby goes to school. There are also certain cases where we have had repeat pregnancy. So I'm 15, I gave birth at 10, then I gave birth at 13. Now I'm 15, one of my child is 5 years, another one is 3 years. What did the Deputy Chief Justice say on the video? It is the duty of the state to protect its own children. If you look at the video, the Deputy Chief Justice will say, it is the duty of government to protect its own children. Why is our government not protecting these children? Why? Why is our government not protecting this? These are our children. So you talk about the law, the Children Act has been passed, we have an FGM policy, that's okay. But today, this is the situation. This situation does not wait for elections. This situation does not wait for elections. This situation does not wait for a new government. These are Kenyan children. Let me fast forward. Now, when I'm 15, chances are, if the state and the community do not protect me, and my first child was 10. When I get to 20, my child who's 10, what happens? If my child who's 10 is also defined, so I'm 20, I'm the mother of the child who's 10. I was defiled. So we should be calling this number of defilements. I was defiled when I was 10. When I'm 20, my child who's 10 has been defiled. I'm a grandmother at 20. What are we talking about? Are we crazy as a country? Now ask yourself, if these are numbers of defilements, if you put this together, this is over 1 million. Now why is the judiciary not receiving cases? If you go to the police station today, the number of cases reported there as defilements is way low than this. The number of cases going to court is very low than this. We are a country where we know that over 1 million children have been defiled over 5 years and we are hiding under child pregnancy. I want us to agree that the civil society will be calling these defilements first. Yes. Once we call them defilement, we go to the Inspector General and say, these are cases of defilement. Where are these people? Then we go to the ODPP and say, these are defilement. Where are these people? And in 6 months, the judiciary, thank you for listening. Jennifer, take the meeting back to direction. I might mislead it.
Thank you so much for making us clean. Thank you so much. And as I told you, as bodies, we have to start thinking of recommendations. Okay, we have already seen the issues. So we already have seen the issues that we have in the process of Day of the African Child, okay? And they're just reflecting for the last 3 years. We're not going to go past 2020, just the last 3 years, including COVID included. So for next year, when you're given a recommendation, we're talking 20 years, you're telling me, oh, those ones who are in the, I've seen government, Department of Children's Services from the Nairobi County are here. Okay, next year, when we are planning for the Day of the African Child, we have that committee that has never breaks, it is throughout, changes the name up there, isn't it? I mean, that committee, I think since 2018, it just changes, 2022, 2021, just changes the name up there. So next year, as we change 2023, and the theme of the Day of the African Child is already out. It's a very interesting thing, which I'm not going to tell you right now. Before when we start, we told, what is the next planning meeting? We start asking ourselves, did we consult children? And did we do this? Okay, we start asking ourselves, so it is a process. I'm going to repeat again. It is a process. For us, this is Day of the African Child 2022. It's an event. When you are reporting to NCCS and the African Union, we say it's an event of the Day of the African Child. Okay? We are reviewing. It's a review, it's a reflection meeting of what we have done. Okay? So I want us to go, I'm thinking, should we go into the groups or we do the analysis first? But I'm thinking we have time, I think for the next 20 minutes, I want us to go into groups. Okay? And I want us to as Nali was saying in the columns, let me just allow me. Yeah. So I want us to go into groups, and I want to look at the challenges, okay? And for me, I attended 3 meetings at the national level. There was a CSO, there was the African Child, there was the Nairobi County one, and there was the national one. Okay? So I want to look at the challenge. Okay? What are the opportunities? Okay? And what are the recommendations? Okay? So we are going to check, okay, in our different groups. Okay? So what are the recommendations for this? What are we giving a recommendation? Okay, we watched, okay, so that we can make it a process, including feedback. So those who know us, we are a child participation organization. And child participation is full circle, okay? From consultation to feedback. Okay? Have we given children feedback? Have we been able to give them feedback of the things that they have told us? 2020, 2021, 2020. Have you gone back to job? Thank you so much. Okay, really declared the plan 2020. And you are able to do this. And these are the things that you know. Have you been responsible? Okay? So for me, it is very important for us to be able to look what are the challenges, the kind of challenges for the family. What are the opportunities that we can be able to build that on? Okay, and what are the recommendations we are going to give to us as CSOs, okay, to the county, whichever county you come from, okay, to NCCA, not the national debate, and to the region, okay, and the African Union. What are the recommendations? For that, we have a very special guest. We have a special guest who was supposed to be here, and it's one of those people who is very, you need to join the debate. Okay, so we have Justice Mateka, who was the chief guest during the 2022 Day of the African Child. So I'm going to ask Justice Mateka to just if she's been following the conversation. And what are reflections? What does she think as a reflection of the Day of the African Child? She has attended the last 3 of them, 2020, I think each one of them. What her reflection on what should we improve the way we conduct the Day of the African Child from her perspective. Justice Mateka? Is she talking? Is she talking? Is she talking? I think we need to connect the okay, she's coming in. She's coming in. Okay, Judge, you can go on.
Okay, good. Is it morning or afternoon?
We can't hear.
Hello, can you hear me? Jennifer, can you hear me?
Go on, Judge. Go on, Judge.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, but I can hear some echo in the background. I hope I am audible. Am I audible? Okay. Okay, good morning, everyone. And Jennifer, thank you for having me. Before I say anything, I just want to say how this is a great day in Kenya for the children of Kenya. I'm sure you are all aware that the new law has come into force today. And I'm sure us in the room have done something or other to bring to fruition the law that we have today. Nataka kuwashukuru nyote kwa ile kazi ambao mmefanya. Jambo hili ni pia kuwashukuru kwa siku ya leo. Jennifer and Total News for bringing together all these people. I'm not sure who else is in the room, but I wanted to find out if there are any government organizations represented. Answer me whether there is any government organization or it was just for yourselves. Yes? Hello?
We have this yes and yes, Judge.
You have this yes and?
Yes.
And who else?
Council.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, I'm so glad because that's the other thing I was asking myself, where anyone else is represented in the meeting other than councils. So after saying that, I also want to acknowledge the fact that it has come into force so soon after the gazettement of the NCAJ special committee on the administration of justice in Kenya. I think for me, those are two very important that have happened that make access to justice in this country, a great thing for I logged in and I had some of the discussions, that the challenges we've had, the gaps that but the things we are challenges, yes, we have issues, yes, we have gaps, yes, we have all this trouble for children. But if we put our minds together, like I've seen you doing, and we bring all our human and monetary, all the others that are at our in our hands, and resource this law, I think we can be able to use that because in my view is it has given the place of children in this country that that special duty that is conferred to us to raise our children properly. I'm sure that things raises so many things in the room, but we have an opportunity to raise children properly. Following what we've been given by this, it was contributed to with dignity, responding, respecting and when they go wrong, to correct them in the right manner. I think it gives us an opportunity to renew our commitment as a nation to continue guarding the rights and welfare of the child as per the supreme law and all the instruments that we have. I know that we have new challenges, but those challenges are addressed in this law. Today, I had about, rather ask the question, what have we done about harmful practices? Eliminating harmful practices against children. We talk about the traditional one, but I'm sure we're aware of the emerging ones, the ones that have come as a result of our exposure to the internet. The online, sexual exploitation of them, the cyber crimes, and all the other forms of abuse come as we all get exposed to this. And of course, all the things that we as adults only that amount to abuse of our children. A big example here is very difficult issues that have on the internet. Even adults not remain both there will not leave the new law. I think it calls upon us to be a bit more vigilant, and so that it's in the room, not that in particular, but in the room wherever we are discussing children, to always remember that we put these things in, but the big potential mechanism in place as all these things. Like I said, the other emerging harmful stuff, coming on the surface, actually when the children are in school, so the issues of drug and substance abuse. Again, I always ask the drugs who the farms were banned, who for distributing, importing drugs from outside the who does these things? Children don't have those, what do I call them? Those resources in their hands. They are consumers. But when they themselves into that situation, it's very hard. Again, we are called upon because the new tells us a child in the law is a child in the care and protection. What does that tell us? It doesn't tell us to handle them with kid gloves, but it tells us to look at what is it that puts our children into conflict, so that we look, we are being told, let's look at what is the source of this trouble that is making this child become a sin. And I think that's a good thing. It's a good thing for us because, as I said, we are being called upon to protect our children with dignity and respect when they come into the conflict with the law. And I think there are issues there about the counties being involved, coming on board now properly this act and what their roles are going. And of course, that is a good thing because for as long as we were having a new constitution devolving the government and the children's laws were properly on board, our children out on what they can give. All at the themes of the Day of the African Child, I'm sure you've gone through that. I mean, because I was not able to join you earlier. And I noted that, we looked at different things over the last 3 years. 2019, we spoke about humanitarian action, children's rights being first. As we reflect that
we have issue of the elections before us, in front of us. And when we have those humanitarian challenges, we know that children sometimes fall into, they become victims. I just hope that we have, discussed if we are not ready this time, what have we to do in future to be able to do that when we have this kind of thing, we put in and assist our children when such situations happen. In 2020, we talked about friendly justice, and I remember service weeks, which had the theme friendly justice system for children. And right now, it has this thing for ensuring that at least the judiciary, we have a system for dealing with children related to the registrar for the children's courts. That means there will be some kind of order. And that when we talk about access to justice, it's not just about it will also be about the structures. So sometimes if the infrastructure is not in place, the real things supposed to be done might not be done. Then in 2021, we talked about adoption of the third 30 years after the 2040 agenda. I think and an Africa fit for children. And then I remember us service talking about adjusting for children. The thing we did, the service we had, the guidance that we had, trying to put that in place. I think there's this law that forced I think will go a long way to that some of those things are properly implemented. And this year we spoke about eliminating harmful practices. I had someone about we can actually properly analyze whether we are able to do things. I hope that when we do that, we will also look at the new challenges that are now meeting our children. I remember attending an online meeting where we were talking about witchcraft and how it affects children. And I had never thought about it. I don't know whether we ever think about accusations against people and how they affect children in their homes, in their communities, in their families. We think about the adults, talk about the adults, but how does that affect children? Is it a harmful practice? It's something to discuss, I think, and to see as we discuss the harmful types of practices. What am I saying in the end? That this morning I agreed to speak in this meeting, but really mostly because we are celebrating this new law, and that as we do so, it gives us I think, to hold all of us accountable. I had someone ask a very important question, whether what has stopped us from asking the head of state to attend the Day of the African Child celebration. Why is the Day of the African Child not a school holiday for children? I think those are important questions. And I think children be asked to speak about these things. And the happy day is that the law we have says that one of the tenets of the best interest of the child is public is child participation. And if you look at the law itself, that the children have participation. So we have that opportunity to actually see how we put into fruition for our children so that they are able to participate. Our children are here now, not tomorrow. They are here now, and we cannot tell them, wait until tomorrow to speak. I think we are in agreement that they are persons recognized by the Constitution as persons with the right that as long as we recognize them as that, their right to participate cannot be a right, must be a right that they can be able to exercise. And that we've been having this, how we let children, how do we, how children now, for example, in court user committee, children court user committees, it's a question people in us. You people talking about in the judicial about children court user committees. Where is the children's voice in that? And of course, it's a challenge that we have to see how do we let them participate, or how do we not let them participate, but how do we bring to that right to participate in issues that affect them as far as access to justice is concerned. And then, of course, finally, when we talk about access to justice, I think we are all aware of the judiciary's place, position on this, not just access to justice. It is that justice can be a tool for social nation. So today, as we discuss the Day of the African Child and all that it entails, I hope that we can be able to have that in mind, that when we celebrate the Day of the African Child, then maybe day to look at ourselves and say, how have all these things, how do they relate to social transformation for the child as far as justice is concerned? So that it's not about the celebrations, something meaningful that comes out of those celebrations. I would have wanted to be asked questions and also hear what is going on, but unfortunately, I'm not able to do that. Thank you for having. I hope that my friends make sense because, as I said, I'm in a celebratory mood for today. Happy that we have that. All the best, and I hope we get to see the outcome of what we are discussing today, Jennifer, as we move on to starting what the special task on children matters has put in place, because committee that was put in place by the NCAJ, it will implement what the special task force on children matters in its status report on children in the administration of justice in Kenya. Thank you so much, and God bless the children of Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Judge. Can we give the judge a clap? Okay, something about the judge. Can the judge hear me? Something about the judge, because she's very transparent. Like, you invite her into children event, she would rarely, unless she has something that is really tying her, she rarely says no. And thank you so much, Judge, for engaging with us and listening to us and just listening for us to engage on the Day of the African Child. Because the Day of the African Child is one of the biggest platforms for child participation in Africa. And the judge did mention about the town hall meeting we had with over 1,500 children. It was just a children event with the Deputy Chief Justice, Judge Mateka, just talking to children. There was nobody, there were no speeches, no nothing. A conversation between the judiciary and the children. And we really are grateful. Anybody with a question to the judge? Anybody? Okay, there are two. Okay, I will start with you and then I can tell you. And then I can hear it.
I was asking about the issue of teenage pregnancy. It can be prevented by warning men.
Okay, I can't hear the person speaking.
Oh,
Hello?
yes.
Sorry, I cannot hear the person speaking.
Is this working?
I was asking, maybe in the case of teenage pregnancy, it is really a serious case, and by working with those teenage mothers, it's good for men to be taken accounted for. Because a man of his own right knows that when I sleep with this girl, I'll impregnate her. Even if any man, even if he is young, he knows what will happen to that girl. So let there be a law that will cater to protect girls from men. Any man found sleeping with the young girl, straight away, hata kama ni kwenda kwa chief kupigwa viboko 20, zile za rush every month, because they are the ones who can stop. No, women, we are weaker sex. Sometimes we love being maybe told nice things, and sometimes tunaingia box haraka sana. Kwa hivyo, a man akitaka kuprotect, he can, by saying, no, I can't do it, you are in school, and you are young. And whenever you sleep with the person who is under 18 years, not that you are sleeping with the child, and they have, now akianza hivyo, men will be seeing girls and running away. because akimguza anaweza pata mimba. When they put in that law, any man who does it to go inside straight away. Hii Kenya itakuwa mzuri kabisa.
Thank you so much. I think you need to have a copy of the Children's Act. Yeah. It's not lashes. You go inside, like you are arrested. It's called defiance. Even if you make a box, sleeping with anybody in the is a crime. And there are several, not only Children's Act, there's a Sexual Offences Act, there's marriage Act. You can't put a child below the age of 18 into a box. Okay? So I think one of the things I'm looking at for you, and we should just have a discussion on the new Children's Act for people who may not understand it. And it's going to be the judge, isn't it? Yeah, so if you need a part of the plan, translation of the Children's Act, it's very short-breathing. Felix or yes?
Okay, 1, 2. Oh, my name is Paul. First, I'd like to thank the judge for agreeing to speak to us. And my question is, what will it take legally to make the Day of the African Child a public holiday? Because then that will create more awareness and bring more attention to the people. Yeah, Judge, I want to thank you for addressing us on this very important day. I have 2 questions. So, rather there are 3. My first question, as we join in celebrating the achievements in terms of the New Children Act, which is a good thing, we are struggling with the what next in terms of implementation. So my first question is,
Okay, sorry. Did you hear me? I'm asking, did you hear the questions? Did you hear the questions? I'm asking, should I take more questions?
my name is Manas, and thank you, Judge, for accepting to speak with us. And my question is, since we have, just the way my colleague has stated there, and we have an act already on the people who defiles our children, so something that I can just ask the judge, it is, since when we have these cases,
Can you do something, please, or try and prioritize on these cases so that those people who are found guilty about this are prosecuted immediately instead of dragging the cases the way we have been seeing in our courts, where the case is reported, but it takes a very long time for it to be heard in the courts. So since this is your area, if something can be done so that those people are the cases are heard immediately and they are jailed immediately, I think that will help us so that for the other people who had the same intentions can learn from that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that behind you?
Thank you, Judge. My name is Jackie, and I train a special program called Your One Degree, where I help children and the youth to discover themselves, because there are only two important days in your life: the day you're born and the day you discover why. So it's appalling to me the amount of abuse that takes place in the homes of children, and they don't open up. And we've been concentrating on the girls. We are talking about pregnancies, and I'm not hearing about the boy child who is actually being abused sexually. There's an assumption that it's only the girl who is being abused. But the boys, the culture, what does our culture tell us? That boys are not supposed to speak up. If you speak up, we ni kama mama, wetu ni kama msichana, we kuwa mwanaume, vumilia. You see, and so the boys are not talking about it, but they're being defiled. It would be my joy if the government can come up with a database for offenders, because someone can be sacked as a teacher or a social worker and they go and work elsewhere. These people are not supposed to be near children. How do we get to know that this person had an issue with a child somewhere? Can we have a database that can be shared with schools, that can be shared with learning institutions, with NGOs that work with children, so that the child can be protected? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Judge, for committing some time to address this theme. I want to ask one question. My name is Charles. I work for Sequoias Islamic France, and we are really excited with the new Children's Act. I wanted to know what will be the role of the civil society in the implementation of this new Children's Act. Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity, Judge. My name is Ruth. I work for Children's Sickle Cell Foundation. One of the key things we deal with is advocacy for sickle cell and also treatment. My question is, this being a minority group for chronic illnesses, especially for children, I was wondering what the government can do to actively engage these children living with chronic conditions, in this case specifically sickle cell. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Judge. So I think those are quite a number of questions. Now you can respond.
About condition. I think the most I can say is that when you look at our act,
a child who has a chronic illness is actually a child in need of care and protection. So the law recognizes that that kind of child is a child who needs care and protection. So in the event that there's anything related to them that comes up, they already have that recognized space within the children's law that is a child who needs care and protection. And there's a whole provision on how we are supposed to treat them in the event that they either enter the justice system or somebody recognizes that they are in a state maybe where their rights are being violated. So any other child, not just a sickle cell child, but children who suffer from chronic conditions, that is a recognition they have in the law. In case their rights are being violated, then they are already recognized by the children's law. And what needs to be done about them is set out there. I wouldn't want to go into the nitty-gritty of the law itself, but I would say that if you go through the law, you see those provisions. When it comes to the question as to what is the role of civil society, I think one of the things, the big things that we have in the judiciary right now is the issue of public participation. And we have put that because the Constitution tells us that we have to have a people-friendly system of justice, system of access to justice. And how does that work? If you look at the NCAJ, civil society are represented there. If you look at our court users committees, there's a provision for representation. Now, when it comes to the children court users committees, there's a place for representation. So it does not matter what it is that those committees are doing. I mean, whatever work that they are doing, they will require the participation of civil society. So wherever you are placed as civil society, just know that there is a place for you. Whether it's the Children's Court Committee, the CCUC for children, or the court users committees, and now they're even specialized in the different areas of access to justice. You find that if it's the family division, they have a CUC. If it is the commercial division, they have a CUC. When it comes to children, you have the family division, and we have all the CCUCs in the country. So there is a place for you to make a contribution. And if you are not a member, then you apply to the jurisdiction, the local jurisdiction where you are placed, to be a member of that CCUC or the court users committee, so that you can make your contribution. Because it is a welcome thing for us to have the stakeholders, because we can't do this work alone. The stakeholders who are with us to assist us to do this work. Now, the issue of sexual violation, I mean the violation of the children sexual. I agree with the speakers who have mentioned that the cases that come to court are more than what we see in the community. And I think we ought to be alive to the fact why. I mean, look at our SOA, the Sexual Offences Act. One of the things that stands out for me, and I've said this personally, that we as a people are not comfortable discussing sexual matters. We are not. That is our culture, that is how, and we brought even that into the law. Because if you read the Sexual Offences Act, we are not even able to give body by the names. Because it's difficult for us to even say them. Look at when a case comes to court, or when a case is being investigated. Even adults should say it, because we are not able to discuss these things. So the day we are able to openly have a discussion on issue or on matters sexual, then our children get the courage to tell us, something was done to me that ought not to have been done to me. When I sat in the children's court, there are many times when you had a victim of sexual offense, telling you that when they reported, they were beaten. A girl goes and tells the mother, ule fulani amenifanyia tabia mbaya. What happens? Anachapwa kwanza. Ulikuwa unafanya nini huko? You see? And it's because of the way we are. So if we can be able to have those conversations and let our children be aware that that is something that shouldn't happen to them. And they should be free to tell us when it happens. And we should be able to be receptive to them telling us when it happens. Then this problem will continue. The other thing is, the law does not talk about boys or girls. The law talks about children. It says a child. If it talks about defilement, it does not say defilement of a boy or a girl. It says defilement of a child. When it talks about sexual assault, it does not say sexual assault of a boy or a girl. It talks about sexual assault of a child. So it is, I think, in our mind as a people that we think that defilement is simply when it happens to a girl. When a boy is sodomized, that's defilement. I think it's important for us to be clear that a sexual offense is, of course, the body of girls will define certain things, but when it happens to children, it is defilement. The sentence remains the same. If you defile a girl or a boy of a certain age, the sentence is not defined by whether it's a boy or a girl. It is defined by the age of the victim of your crime. So it is important for us to also bring that out. Because when we keep talking about the boys and girls, when it comes to this, then we also create that impression. But let me say that the law speaks for itself, that the child is defined as a child, not as a boy or a girl. I agree that children have different needs. Boys and girls, all of us, female and male, we have these different needs. And of course, the intersex child, you must remember there's also the intersex child and their different needs. And when the abuse comes, it is upon us who are in the system to ensure that the systems are responsive to the needs of that particular child, whether it's a boy or a girl or an intersex child. Now, ni sisi tu tutafanya watoto wakuwe na confidence ya kuzungumza. And it's the way adults deal with children. We give them the impression that you can't talk about this, you can't talk about the other. But the day we make it clear to them that unaweza kuzungumza kuhusu hili jambo likitokea na hakuna mtu atakulaumu, then we can be able to know that we step. And I agree with the person who said that as a society we need to get to the point where a man, especially an adult man, will not have sexual intercourse with a child and claim that the child went to him, that it's a defense, alijileta kwangu, The day that that man can be able to say, this is a child that I didn't touch them, I agree with that person. And that if they are not able to resist that, they should run away from that child. Because sincerely, we cannot continue having a situation where adult men take advantage of underage children, either both boys and girls, and deal with them. I think the law as we have it is quite punitive, and viboko tuliwacha for a reason, but sheria ile iko inatoa vifungo vya kutosha, because inaanza na mtu kufungwa maisha. Yeah? If the victim is below the age of 11, we'll go in for life. You can go in for life. That is what the law says. If above that, you can go in for 20 years, 15 years. Those sentences are still available for people who commit this kind of crime. So we have, the law is there. I think as a society, we are still not conscientize ourselves enough that we need to protect our children and not abuse them. So I do agree that probably we need a lot more community mobilization, community awareness, community consciousness, community people, maybe one-to-one situations where this thing is very serious, that as civil society, as government, all of us move to those areas and really find out what is happening and talk to people. I think it's one thing to sit and discuss these things, another thing is to go to the ground and just listen to people. One time we went somewhere during a service week, and the judiciary was being blamed for the pregnancy rate in that community. I had to sit down and listen because they said tunalaumu judiciary kwa sababu wasichana wetu wanapata mimba za mapema. I was like, how is the judiciary to blame? And these people went on to explain, to say, you see, you keep jailing the men, and these girls have become so brave, they keep going to the men. You see that argument? And I had to stand up and say, hey, my people, why are these men not running away from this girl? They are still young. Bado wao ni watoto. They are not like ni wasichana watu wazima wanaenda kwa hao wanaume. Ni watoto. So why would the man say, this girls keep coming to us? Because we are jailing the men, the girls are so brave, they still come and entice us. And the question was, these are still children, and you are adult men. Why don't you just understand why you are being sent to prison? It's because these are children. And now you start acting differently. So we had to have that conversation. So I'm just saying there's that need to to meet people and talk to them. The issue of delays of these cases, I do agree, it does happen, but as you are aware, I think the judiciary is really keen on ensuring that we comply with the time frames that have been put in place. Recently, we had a town hall meeting with children in Nairobi with the Deputy Chief Justice, and if you listened, you heard her very clearly that children matters, the courts will have to comply with the legal framework that is put in place. And now, the fact that when these courts are put in place, because I said infrastructure also makes a difference. When you have a children magistrate doing no other work except children matters, then we can start seeing the fruits for the children, so that these delays are dealt with. But the moment you see a matter delaying too much, I think today with this public participation through court users committees and any other means, please raise the flag. Don't say that hiyo kesi imekaa and complain out there. Please raise the flag through the CUC, through the head of station, through whichever means that's available to you, that we know about this case, it has taken too long. Because sometimes, as we say, the chain link of justice sometimes breaks and children fall through. Because we work together, but where there is a weakness, a child can most probably fall through. And we must admit to that, and that's why we are all called and have to be held to account and to hold each other accountable as we work for children. Then the question of the question about the database. It is there on SOA, but it's not a public document. It is kept by the registrar as per the Sexual Offences Act, and the registrar, the chief registrar, and people can request for that information. There's a process set under the Sexual Offences Act. There are rules on how we capture that information, how she keeps the register, and how someone can access that information. Being aware of that will make it easy for you. If you want to find out if somebody you want to employ or somebody who has sought employment to work with children, that is a place to go. And the rules are there in that act as to how we can look at that. The next question was about how to finance the law. Let me say that that is something we are, those of us in the child justice system are very much alive to. The fact that the law that has just died today was not properly financed. We did not think through how things were going. You'll find a section saying a court can make this order and government will pay for it. A court can make this order and it will be paid by government funds or public funds. But those funds were not there. So what happened with this particular one is that even as the law was being passed through, and this one I want to comment the BCS, because they had a consultant bring us together to just sit down and engage each of the agencies, our finance people, the people who sit down to do the budgets in all our organizations, judiciary, BCS, police, everyone, they brought them on board, so that we would actually sit down and see how much would it cost us to finance this law. And you see, when you bring those people up on board, then they know that the next budget cycle, they must actually put a budget, in the budgeting, we must have a vote head there for implementing the children's law for each of the different agencies. So for this one, we look forward to that, because that exercise was not in vain. We now have an expectation that people sat down, at least for the judiciary, I know, and for many of the others, that people sat down, for those people who deal with money in those institutions, let me just use that term, and actually came up with budgets. Everyone looking at the each section that deals with them. How much would it cost us to implement this part that deals with us? And then come up with a specific budget which would be given to Parliament to look at. So tuko macho na tunatarajia kwamba bunge litaangalia hiyo maneno na ipatie watoto pesa ya kuhakikisha sheria yao inatimizwa vilivyo. Alafu jambo la mwisho, how to make Day of the African Child a public holiday. Watoto waombe hivyo. I think public holidays are put in place. There's a law on how they are put in place. And I think that if children are able, because they are aware of their rights, wanajua waseme tuko na siku yetu, na kwenda hiyo siku yetu ikuwe siku ya be a public holiday yet. I am sure that is something that the people concerned would be able to look at. I think I have looked at, let me see if there's anything else, but abuse in homes, yes. The issue of abuse in homes. Again, we are aware of, during COVID, I think we all learned that there is something wrong with the way we relate in our families because abuse went up. What did it tell us? That there's a disconnect. Now, in the new law, what I know is that there are certain provisions about parenting. I know the old one also had some provisions, but putting them in place. Now, the challenge for us, and CSOs here, you can help us, is the programs we need to put in place within the counties to help parents to understand what parenting is all about. So that where a parent has challenges parenting, when the court makes an order for those kind of supervision orders that we have been given there, because they are orders the court can make for purposes of ensuring a parent is assisted to be a better parent, that we have programs. So as we discuss, I think that should be somewhere on top of your agenda. How do we help our nation, our parents, to be better parents, to be parents in this age, in this of children of this time and this age, because kuna ile parenting sisi tulipata, ile at a certain age walipata, na ile watoto wa siku hizi wana demand. How do we ensure it works well for the cohesion of our families? Because without our families, then we don't have a nation. So I think it needs to be taught there that we have a challenge with parenting, and we need to come up with ways of assisting those parents. Because as the law, as I've said, the law recognizes, one, that even a child whose parent is unable to parent is a child who needs care and protection. So we are also brought in kufanya nini kuhakikisha mzazi amejua njia mufti ya kudili na mtoto wake. I think I want to leave it there and to say that I may not be able to answer more questions, but to just say that to wish you well in your discussion. I look forward to seeing the report. Jennifer, as we have the next meeting to discuss implementing the new law, and we look forward to having the support of every CSO implemented in this house. The National Council and the DCS, thank you for representing serikali inapotaka. Asanteni sana na muwe na siku njema na
Thank you so much, Judge. Before you go, there is a child who has begged for you to listen to him before you leave. So I'm just going to call Brian. Please don't look at Brian's big body. He's still a child. He's still a child. So Brian is going to just give his reflection of the Day of the African Child. What are the key recommendations that he thinks should be put in place for children to feel it is the Day of the African Child?
Hello, everybody. Yes. No, let's not go into that. So I will want to use Mr. Elijah's presentation as a mirror to give you my reflection as an African child. Basically, first of all, I think we need to acknowledge the distance we've covered. Okay, is it okay? Okay, awesome. I was saying I want to use Mr. Elijah's presentation to just make us all understand the kind of distance we have covered from, I think, 2020 up to now. We have really engaged child participation. We have really progressed in child participation, especially. Me standing here is an example of that. Previously, you guys, you just met like this and you celebrated the Day of the African Child without the African children. So I think, first of all, we need to acknowledge that and just understand that for the Day of the African Child, be it we might be celebrating the policies that we are making, we also need to engage the children. I think we need to make it something that we do every single day of the, in fact, every single year. Every time we come up with policies, we need to make them child-friendly. By child-friendly, I mean they need to be broken down in ways where I can understand them and a child in Marsabit can also understand them, so that we get to relate to our policies that are actually getting to affect us directly, not you guys. Us as African children, we need to be able to understand them. You guys might make them, and sometimes you tend to forget to actually involve us in making them. And even after you make them, you do not pass them to us. We just hear their policies and we don't even know about them. So I'm thinking, Ms. Jennifer, maybe we can make it a moment to actually be breaking down each policy that we make, every single policy that we come up with to a child-friendly manner so that every single child can actually get to understand them. Another something I'd love to appreciate is the engagement with stakeholders as children, basically. The judiciary, the executive, and even the legislature at times, because Dan explained earlier that earlier before children got to meet with the parliament and actually present their presentation, I think I need to appreciate that over the past few years, we've been engaging with stakeholders in the children committee, basically, we being the main stakeholders. We've been engaging with you guys and sharing our views. I think that's something else I just needed to, point out and appreciate, because as we get to engage with you, we're able to share our views and concerns regarding our policies. I was going through some documents and I realized that most of the laws and policies that are there are actually quite comprehensive. They're actually very, I'd love to say perfect, let me say good. They're very good laws and policies, but because we are not, engaged with them well, we are not actually versed with them, we don't know what they are, we are not able to implement them on ourselves. When I'm abused, I'm not able to know. I mean, you guys actually know that I believe in Kenya, more than 50% of the adult population actually know of the Day of the African Child. But what about the children? How many children actually know of the day? I know here in Nairobi, it's sometimes televised, and your children know about it. You get to go to parks and all, and just celebrate in general. But now, how many children actually know of the Day of the African Child? I heard someone say it should be made a public holiday. I think we've been debating and arguing for this, fighting for this for a very long time, because if children don't know about their day, then what are you doing here? What's the point of this? You need to understand that if you're fighting for someone without them knowing you're fighting for them, what are you doing? I think you're fighting for yourself. It's something that stakeholders need to understand. All of you here need to understand that anytime you're making a policy, anytime you're engaging with a policy, not even making it, anytime you are correcting or going through a policy regarding children without actually involving them, I'd love to say you're doing zero progress. You cannot affect us directly without actually involving us. So, and I think in order for this to be empowered, in order for this to work, I'd love for you guys to actually follow the lead of Mtoto News. Directly working with children. I don't know how many of you actually work with children directly and just engage with us. We have, I had a new term just recently. It's called child-led research. I did not know about it. Leading research in policy making, policies that affect children by actually engaging children directly. I think, Lady Justice, you can also tell us how many of, when you guys are enforcing, I know you guys are all about enforcing policies and laws, how exactly do you engage children with that? We engaged with her recently and she told us about a child-friendly judiciary system. How does this look like? You guys should engage with us. Just find out what it looks like for us. I recently found out we're not supposed to be cuffed when we do something wrong. I did not know that. I've seen many, I've had many, and I've not been arrested myself, but I know of a friend who was arrested, cuffed, and actually beaten right in front of us from school because he had done a crime. This is something he could not defend himself. You know why? Because he did not know that. I know of wakili wa watoto wa the hairs. No. They're here in the room today. And I'm wondering how have you guys actually engaged with students in schools? Because I believe children are the ones that you actually, representing. How exactly are you guys engaging with that? If you're listening to me, I'm revolving around child participation here. I'm all about, are you guys engaging us? And into Mr. Elijah's presentation earlier, I just wanted to know, I've heard of recommendations from all the years since 2002. And there are a lot of recommendations and I've had a lot of complaining because I've been hearing, what have you guys been doing? Have you done this? Why haven't we done this? And I'm here wondering, other than just recommending, how exactly do you enforce this? Are you guys so limited in such a manner that you just make a policy recommendation but you don't have any way of possibly enforcing this? How do you guys interact with the state? How do CSOs actually engage with the state to actually enforce these policies? And something else, I had someone mention the KCA. I believe someone here. And it is a very great idea. I'm personally very excited about the Kenya Children's Assembly, but he also mentioned a very good question. What do they do exactly? How exactly why is it important to have the KCA? Is it just a body for show to be written in the report that it's there? How exactly is this body interacting with children? How accessible is it to children? Is this body actually, what's the word? Is it working? Is it actually doing it? Is it actually fulfilling its purpose as the Kenya Children's Assembly? I think these are some of the questions we should be asking ourselves. Something else, I also have a question to Mr. Elijah again. Sorry to, circle around you. How comes there is no time limit to the objectives? Because I understand that in a goal, in a race, there is always a time limit. You have to run so that you can beat the other person in front of you. If you tell me today, if my mom comes today and tells me, osha vyombo, and then I end akirudi, I still have the defense that nitaosha. You did not tell me to wash it at this particular time. How comes there is no particular time limit to the objectives you guys are giving to the government? Because I think they can also have the defense. We are still going to do it. We have a lot of time. You guys never gave us time, never gave us a specific time limit. I think that is some of the things I would just love to, get answers to. But then again, I am coming back to child-led things. If the CSOs here are all about children, why aren't you engaging with child-led research? Why aren't you engaging with child-led organizations? Why don't your organizations have a child participation team? It's a question you should all be asking yourselves. Because, if you're working with children or you're working for children, you should be having children in your team. Don't say they'll be in school. Don't say they are too young to understand. I am a child myself, and I believe I'm understanding. Though it might be a bit slowly, I am still able to understand, and I am not the only one. There's a term Miss Jenny introduced to us. It's called adultism. Adultism is a way where you adults tend to push your views onto children. You like the KCA. I'd love to attack it at this moment by saying, in a way, it is so adulted in a manner that the Kenya Children's Assembly has to be coached on what to say. They are told they are government representatives, so they have to act in a way that pictures, that shines a light onto the government. Is that really effective? What was the point of the Kenya Children's Assembly if you're going to puppeteer it? I don't understand that. I'd love to counter adultism by childism. It's a concept I also heard Miss Jenny say. Childism, according to me, I'd love to interpret it in a manner where children, best interest of the child, that's in the new Children's Act, right? Childism is a manner where best interest of the child is explained by the children. I'm not talking by a child. I'm not talking about me, Brian King. I'm talking about children, as in the children of Kenya, the children of Africa in general. If you're going to do something, don't do it in an adultive manner where you want to control every single aspect of it. We children have a manner of doing things. It might not be perfect, but it is our way, right? If you want us to cross over into the 18 year and move into your way, just flow into your river, move how you guys want us to move. So, that is how I believe that's how the adult life works. You move into the system and you work with it. Then before we move into that system of yours, please work with our system, which is undetailed, which is unfocused, but after all, it is the child system. The children of Kenya, I believe, are very effective children. You had, in our videos earlier, you heard of, I think the governor of Mombasa County is here. She's very articulate. I was personally impressed in our child. You heard what she was saying, right? We are able to. Why aren't you guys engaging with us? I don't want to take up much time. I know I can speak for a whole day, and not just me. You guys need to engage with us, and you can see for how long we can speak. But just to leave it at that, I think I'm leaving you with a concept today, childism. In your policy making, in your organizations, even in your daily lives, learn to listen to your children, not hear them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian. So you guys, you see what we go through in the office every single day, yeah? So, Judge, do you have any? Okay, yes.
Now we have a way, we have a pathway where children can come on board. And like I said, it's not that we are supposed to let them, it is their right. We are supposed to have adults put these systems in place. It's up to us to ensure that we put systems in place and we don't treat children as small adults, but just remember that they are children. When you talk about a child-friendly judiciary system, I think every effort is made to ensure that when a child comes into the system, they still feel acknowledged as a child. I think that is the whole idea, that if you enter into a system, you don't encounter a system meant for adults, but a system meant for children. I like the idea of us engaging with children in every way possible, so that we get to listen to them, not just to hear them. So I appreciate the fact of your demand that policies made for children should be made in such a way that, one, that they are consulted, and two, that they are also reduced to a language that is children can understand and engage. Because I do agree there's no need for us to have something for children, yet they are not aware of that thing. For example, like you say, if it's the right not to be abused, or the protection against abuse, and you do not know you have that right, and you don't know what to do when you are abused, then that right becomes a right on paper. So I actually agree with you on that. So basically, I want to just say it is important to see the point that Brian is making, that child participation should not be something that is just on paper. We have the obligation to find ways and means to ensure that it is effective, it is real, it is not just something like he's saying for show, but something that makes a difference in the lives of children. When children are aware, just like adults, then they are better able to protect themselves. Finally, I think, Brian, one of the reasons why we came up with the Wakili Watoto clubs, we know that when it comes to rights and the safeguarding of the rights and welfare of a child and the justice system and access to justice, sometimes you need an advocate to speak for you. And for children, you need an advocate to speak on your behalf, or to speak for you in that system that is there, who understands you, who knows what it means to be a child. There would be a bit the word post to these particular issues. When we attended the town meeting, I remember challenging them, saying, now we have opened a door for you to engage not just with high primary school, because good to see the degree of engagement that children as young as those in primary school understand their challenges, and they know that they need us to deal with those challenges, and therefore they raise the kind of issues that they were raising. We could see that they need to have people who understand that, wako karibu na wao, wanaweza kuelewa mambo kama hayo, as they bring them up to the people who bado pengine lugha hatutaelewana, but they make us understand. So please, Wakili Watoto clubs, take the challenge. I hope you pick the challenge and run with it, and engage with these children, and bring those issues to where they're supposed to be brought, because you can be a very good space to engage with children on the rest of us, because karibu na umri, karibu na lugha, all those things. I think that would make a difference. And all the other good things that you said, Brian, I've taken them to mind. And as we continue to engage, just know for sure that as the committee on that has been put in place by the NCAJ, we are so much alive to how to ensure that we make sure children activities. And I'm sure we'll continue to engage with the, whether it's the assembly, whether it's the total news, but the avenues available to us to get children to participate in our activities. Asante sana na I hope mmesikia hiyo habari na mmeweza kuitilia maanani kwamba watoto wanahitaji kushughulishwa katika mambo ambayo yanawahusu. Asante.
Thank you so much, Judge. We really appreciate. And guys, we are running out of time, basically. So in the afternoon, it's going to be marathon. So indulge me for a few minutes. So we're supposed to go for lunch at 1 o'clock. So I'm just going to allow Bonyo to speak for 5 minutes because he needs to run to respond to some of the comments that have been spoken here. But in the afternoon, we're going to do a lot of group work, okay, to come up with key recommendations. You're going to work to this table here. So thank you, Judge. You can hang in and just listen in. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Judge. Just two things that we need to take seriously from what the judge is telling us. Number one, the committee that was gazetted that the judge chairs is now a space for us to go and engage, and let's do a good report. Because the report we make from this meeting can actually be considered in the committee that Justice Madeka chairs. So, Judge, it's our commitment to ensure that we have a good report that documents the issues we are having here and also recommendations. Secondly, 26th today is the day that the new law for children commences. Now, we need to leave for lunch knowing clearly that everything else that we used to do in the past, now things have changed. And lastly, from our vision, we really want to support this process. And in the afternoon, kindly come up with very clear, how do I put it? Clear actions that we need to take. 3 things that are important. Engaging of the civil society and government on the Day of the African Child. If you have a good report, then we can then agree how do you engage government based on that report, because that report will have our shared understanding. Brian has actually brought it out. How are we going to consolidate the views of children around the same matter? Then you have the children report. As we go for elections, in the next 1 or 2 weeks, we'll be running some surveys. And of course, when we reach out to you together with Mtoto News, please respond. It's around, again, the interest of children around elections. Thank you very much, Jennifer. I'll not be here with you in the afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bonyo. Thank you so much, Judge, for this. We really do appreciate, like, for us, the best interest of the child is our DNA. Okay, child participation is what we do. So for me, as we go for break, let's think about that. Please use Twitter. We're having a campaign right now on Children's Act 2022. It has just been enacted. It's just enforced from today. So we have a campaign going on right now. So if you guys can go online and say something. For those ones who are asking, go look section 28 of the new Children's Act. Is all about child participation. It's very detailed. It's more detailed. The last act was just saying children have a right to participate, but now it goes into how they can participate in policy making, okay, in forums, in budget making. Children have a right to picket, okay, and to hold their leaders accountable. It's a very detailed article. So if you guys can be able to go and just look through and the Children's Act, if you don't have a copy, you can go to the Mtoto News website, mtotonews.com/resources. And then you scroll down to laws. So we have quite a number of things under resources. So go down to laws and then you'll find the Children's Act 2022 there. We have the detailed one and a simplified version. So very simplified, but it's not detailed. We're still working on it. But because people are asking, what is it? Or can you give us a summary? So we did a quick summary, so you can find it in our website, mtotonews.com. If you go there, you'll find either an adult or a child. Go to the child side. The child side is it is easier to navigate in terms of, you can get them. And then you go resources, click resources, scroll down, you find laws, and then scroll a bit down, you'll find the Children's Act, the detailed version, and the simplified version. So if you can do that, and then just read it, get yourself familiar with it, even as we go to check as we go to the recommendation, how can we be able to implement Article 28 of Children's Act 2022? Okay, just look at it. It's an amazing article. Okay, Article 28 of Children's Act 2022. It's on child participation. Okay, thank you. Thank you. We can break for lunch and we come back at exactly 1:45 so that we can go on. Thank you. On lunch, oh wait, there are slips. So you will see Dan there at the door who is going to be giving you a slip. I think it's upstairs. It's at the called what? Pool side. Yeah. guys who are present, please join. Those behind there, please join this table. Yeah, those ones you just kuja ucheze peke yake, angalia anaingia tu ni kama tusikii. Umechelewa. Angalia wanakuja tu saa hizi. Haya. So I want us to go into a group work. So I'm going to divide via how many groups? 1, 2, 3. How many? My math. 5. We have five tables. So we are going to look at each level, okay? Each level of where Day of the African Child. Hey, Bonnie, umechelewa, weka muziki. Ngoja na hepa that you dance. So we have 5. So we are going to have a group that is going to tackle dark. Okay? You have seen the challenges. You saw what Bonyo said. And I want us to go to Article 28 or Section 28 of the Children's Act 2022. Okay? And the guidelines. Who are there when you are doing the guidelines for child participation? Who attended that workshop? Just before the Day of the African Child, on 24th of, is it 24th of May? Yeah, we had a workshop on the guidelines. Okay, so also the child participation guidelines, I can ask Dan to share on the email. So let's go look at them, and then let's look at child participation, Day of the African Child. Okay, and then come up with what are the current challenges. Okay, what are the opportunities? And what are the recommendations, okay? From the community level. Community, come na the community. Sometimes you have a child at the CSO level, okay? And then we have at the county level, at the national level, and at the regional level. How can we ensure there's meaningful child participation? Actually, the aspiration of the Day of the African Child are achieved, okay? So that it is a process, okay? Okay, let's assume right now we have just started a process. We have started the process of Day of the African Child 2023, but we have started by reviewing 2020, 2021, and 2022. What are some of the lessons that we can learn, that we can be able to take forward? What are the things that we have seen that we don't think we want to take forward? And what are the recommendations? Okay, so in our groups, I'm just going to do so that we can be able to do very fast. So, so I'm looking for how many are CSOs here, but there's a parent there. Yes, even at the household level. So, so you guys are going to tackle community. Community goes to the family. How can you make child participation meaningful at the community and the family level? Okay? Okay, here, you guys can tackle CSOs. Okay, how can CSOs, what are the challenges? Okay, are we busy giving government money without considering the process? Okay, here you're going to look at government. I'm putting it because I've seen government people here. There are 2 government people at the county level. How can we make child participation at the county level? Okay? And the process. Okay, it should be absorbed. It's not an event. They can keep in the fire. Right now, all organizations are going to write their reports with the third Day of the African Child. Period. But is it really what it was meant to be? So the guys here are going to do at the county level. So you guys are going to have to do it at the national level. So how can we make child participation? From domesticating, there's some countries when they aim to the team, they domesticate it to their level. So they don't take it as it from there. From the aim, they domesticate them. I think that's a way that okay. And here, so one thing here. So you guys, can I move Giving an original level. So I'm going to bring down here to the here. Right. So at the original level. So just checking. Do we have a computer for every table? Do we have a computer here? None has a computer. Does anybody have a computer there? Okay. No, I see one has a- Okay. Anyway, use that table to be able to do that. So after this, I'm going to give us 20 minutes to do this because we remember we did a survey. Okay, most of you answered it. We need to project those results to check what you guys are saying and the survey results are the same. So when you're putting the reports together, it's more rich. Okay. So but please put it in a table form and write it in a handwriting that we can be able to see. Those ones who have a computer, please put it on a table and send it to us. Or can I distribute Miriam and please? One of you come here. There is a computer there. And then Miriam, you can move there. Miriam, move there. Please, you can come here. Because it's a computer. They are very much done on the computer. So Miriam, you can talk with someone. Because they are making a So let the discussion start. The question is, okay, what are the challenges you're facing for the Day of the African Child? We can reflect for the last 3, okay? Okay, whichever you have participated actively. Okay, and then what are the opportunities and what are the recommendations? Okay, I know. So as you're doing recommendation, please push children because I was hoping you can have a for children, but you cannot bring for children. Okay, just walk with someone. Tell someone to stand up and go. Talk with someone. So that does not remain empty. Bora, how do you want to sit on that? Yeah, sure. So that is so let's start. We are going to give you 20-25 minutes maximum because we still have a little tackle into other African Union level issues. Concluding observation.